Working in sports is a dream for so many people, but getting your foot in the door, that's an entirely different game. I know because I've been there. From not knowing where to start to landing a career in professional sports, I've learned a lot along the way. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how I got here, the lessons I've learned, and how you can build your own career in sports, whether you're just starting out or looking to level up. This video is packed with real advice, no fluff, no gatekeeping. So whether you're a college student, career changer, or just trying to figure out your next steps, I've got you. Let's get into it. Let's take it back to the beginning. I didn't just wake up one day and land a job in the NFL. There was a process, and trust me, it was not an easy one. As a young girl, I've always wanted to work in sports. I just didn't know exactly what that looked like because I didn't know anyone who actually worked in sports. I knew people who played professional sports, but what did it look like outside of the athlete? I had no idea. I've had dreams of working in sports, from being a physical trainer to being a sports attorney. I wanted to do it all, but at the end of the day, it all equated to I wanted to work in professional sports. I don't remember the year, but I had a conversation with my dad and I told him that I wanted to work in the NBA. And he was like, I feel like you should work in the NFL, gave me his reasoning. And thankfully with my first internship, I was able to work in the NFL as well as the NBA. But currently I am only working in the NFL. As I mentioned before, I didn't know anyone on what we call the business side of sports. So I did not know what it looked like. So honestly, everything was a doubt, everything was a challenge, and everything was a misconception. Like, I just had no idea. When I started working for Tulane Green Bay football team, I didn't even know that football video was a thing. Now, the first thing I did to get serious about it, technically, is working for a Green Bay football team and coaches film. But the next thing was having that conversation with my dad. And the next thing after that would be doing everything possible to get somewhere. I didn't know where the roads would lead me, but I knew if I got on a road, I would eventually get somewhere, and maybe somewhere I would find happiness and joy and peace in what it is that I would do for my career. When I was back in California, I had a multitude of jobs, but I had one particular job where I worked for a very large retail company. I worked for their corporate office. And at one point I had a supervisor who her husband had passed away, and then she decided she was going to step away from working. And so her position went up to be filled. I wanted to apply for the job, but I, at the time, only had a high school diploma, and I allowed myself to be afraid to apply for the job because the postings said that you had to have an associate's degree at a minimum. And honestly, I feel like if I would have just had a conversation with HR, because I was already working there, it wasn't like I was on the outside trying to apply. But in the end, that fear definitely helped me. So that encouraged me to go back to school. And at the moment, I was only planning to go back to school to get my associate's degree. So at work, I typically work from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then at night, I would go home for 30, 45 minutes. And I would then go up the street to Los Angeles City College, where I took night classes from, I don't know what time, but literally every single semester they had fall, spring, accelerated winter, accelerated summer. So I did that for 2 years straight, exhausted, all the things. About a year and a half in, I feel like I said this in a previous video, but I decided I was gonna go and get my bachelor's degree. Now, I didn't know what school I was gonna attend, but I was gonna get there when I got there. My focus was to have the grades to get into a school. So I ended up being waitlisted by Princeton, USC, Southern California, Georgetown, Vanderbilt. They all waitlisted me. I keep telling myself I should have applied to Dominguez Hills. I still don't know why I didn't do that, but neither here nor there. Tulane accepted me, so I ended up going to Tulane. When I was first signing up to attend classes at Tulane, I was talking to my advisor and I intended to study public relations, but they looked at the syllabus for my stats class that I took at LACC, and they needed to see Excel on the syllabus, and we didn't use Excel, we used the statistics program. She told me that I would have to take statistics at Tulane and then apply for the business school, and I was like, absolutely not. I took statistics already, I'm not taking it again. And that B was a hard-earned B. When I tell you, I don't believe in having to work hard for a lot of things, but I worked hard for that. You're not making me do this again. I asked her, what's another major that I can take where I don't have to take statistics to get into the program? And she told me communication. Please sign me up. Thank you. So I ended up being a communications major, at the time, German minor, but the way the classes were, I wasn't able to actually take the German classes. So I decided to switch from a German minor to the Ashley lore is thick, okay? There's a lot here. You're like, German? Yes. So I ended up switching my minor to exercise science. And because I was a communication major, we received email from Greenway football team asking people if they wanted to work in football video. I had no idea what that meant at the time, but they said that they would give us free gear, opportunity to travel, a few other things, if I'm not mistaken, and priority registration. Your girl was on a mission, so that priority registration was music to my ears. So I emailed them back, and I ended up, I think, showing up like that same week that I emailed them. They ran me down like what they did. I had no idea still what was going on. And they asked me if I was interested. Absolutely. Because one, I needed a job. Also, when I was a student at Tulane, I worked in technology services. I worked for Greenway football team. I worked in HR. I worked for the fudgery. I did a lot of things. The girl money was what I needed because I had literally left everything to come here to get a degree. And like I had a plan, but not really a plan. And after that, one of my line sisters, my sorority sister, Yvonne, she danced for the New Orleans Pelicans at the time. She told me that there was an internship, social media, that was opening up, and she put me in contact with a girl who had been in a different internship with the Saints and Pelicans. So I spoke to her, ended up applying for the job, and that's how I landed my first internship. It's literally word of mouth because I had no idea that this internship existed. So when I first went to Green Wave, I did not know how to use the big cameras. I just literally learned on the spot. Instead of asking a lot of questions, I would Google things. And it's like sometimes you can ask somebody a question just for clarity and they talk to you like you're dumb, and I hate that. So I was like, I'm just gonna Google any questions that I have. So I would Google questions. I would arrive early, I would leave late, I would offer to do edits, and then I was training people. So anything that I could possibly do, I was doing. There were even times where I wouldn't even ask if I could come help. I would just like show up and help and assist. Now, one of the biggest game changers for me was networking. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, people would just notice me. But that's not how this works. You have to put yourself out there. Here's 3 ways to build connections in sports. First is using LinkedIn and Twitter. You can engage with industry professionals here. Please be mindful to keep it professional. Do not stalk people, do not harass people, keep it professional. You can engage and show interest in something without coming off too much. Second is to go to events and conferences. Here's where you can meet people face to face. I spoke on a panel last year. I'm actually gonna speak on the same panel again this year. Spoke on a panel last year, and there was one person who reached out to me before the panel and introduced himself and said that he was going to be attending the panel, etc. Because he reached out to me beforehand, I knew, like, when I sat down in the chair, I was scanning the room and I saw him. He was sitting right here to me. After the conference, a lot of people went to speak to me, which is fine, but I made sure to acknowledge to him, like, of all the people that, there was a very long line of people who wanted to talk to me. Of all the people here, I'm not gonna remember pretty much anybody's name, but your name, I'm gonna remember. Your name, your face, what school you go to, I'm gonna remember. Even today, we stay in communication via text, and I've helped him with interviews and things like that. Third is to offer value first. Ask how you can help, not just what they can do for you, okay? Please, because the same way you want to have a job in professional sports or finance or what have you, there's how many people that they say is on this earth, and how many of those people live in America, and how many of those people are between the ages of 18 and 35. You have to stick out somewhere, so offer value first. Now, the moment that I realized this was the right career for me, it kind of happens over and over again, and that's how I know I love what I do, because we have draft, and last season was actually my first draft, and I didn't know what to expect. It was actually pretty underwhelming. It was kind of boring. It was a lot of sitting around, but seeing the rookies come in and getting to do superlatives with them, and like, it's like being the new kid in a new school, and everyone else has been here, but you're trying to like find your bearings. And I love being able to experience that from the outside, not to be the new person coming in. And also when I cover community events, whether it's Raven's signature project or one of our players just having an event for the community on his own, and I'm covering it, being able to storytell, especially not being from Baltimore, not being from Maryland, not being from the East Coast, I feel like it makes me feel so good to be able to do that. And yes, game day's fun and all the things. I haven't traveled with Saints or Ravens or Pelicans, but I did travel with Tulane Green Wave, and traveling is fun too. And honestly, it's the moments that people don't necessarily always care about. The touchdown and the sack are oftentimes more valuable to people than the turkey drives or the Christmas shopping. But it's the community events that I feel so good in, like getting, and honestly, because I'm not from here, I don't know many people here, especially outside of work, getting to like see people's stories and getting to hear people's stories and like see how they just maneuver through this place called Baltimore is very inspiring to me, and it makes me feel good that I'm able to give back, especially through my work. Now that you know my journey, let's talk about you. If you want to work in sports, here's what you need to know. So there's many different career options in sports, from media, marketing, to operations, etc. So you could go to school for finance and still work in sports. You could go to school for law and still work in sports. You could, honestly, we have firefighters. I don't think every team has firefighters that work with them, but you could be a firefighter and work with a professional sports team. Long story short, there's many different ways to get into sports. When it comes to how to identify which area fits your skills and interests, that's honestly something that you should sit down with yourself and decide what it is that you want. What do you want? If you're someone who wants to be home Monday through Friday at 5:30 p.m., maybe working in sports media is not for you, and that's fine. Basketball is my favorite sport, but I do love football, and unfortunately, because of the career field that I chose, sports media, I will never, unless it's a bye week, get to experience a game day not working. And it sucks, because sometimes I just do want to watch the game, but it's unrealistic because of the career path that I chose and what it is that I chose to do within sports. Now, when it comes to how to start if you don't have experience, I would say, especially if you're of college age, start in college. Because while you're a student obtaining your degree, you can also get some type of experience. Now, if you're already in the workforce, I would suggest getting an entry-level job or internship in the position that you want to be in. Also, networking within the sports industry, especially because there's a lot of positions where you can transfer your skills. So you want to capitalize and market the fact that you have these transferable skills. Now, if you already have your degree, I don't think it's necessary to go back to school to get another degree focusing on sports. You can still utilize the degree that you have. But if you're looking to work in sports and you don't have a degree, I don't know of many teams, if any teams, that will hire without having at least a 4-year bachelor's degree. And some entry-level positions that can help you get your foot in the door are ticket sales reps, event coordinators, marketing assistants, things like that. Some of the top skills sports professional needs are communication, teamwork, decision-making, leadership, critical thinking, and I would also add in this, creativity. Now, if you're looking for some free and paid resources to help develop these skills, I would look at Khan University. I know that's free. Coursera, I believe is how you pronounce it. TED Ed, Udemy. If I was on the other side, I wouldn't do more than 2 internships. As someone who interned for 11 months, I would not do more than 2 internships before only applying to full-time positions. Now, the importance of internships, especially within sports, is that you're getting real life experience in sports. Breaking into sports is already difficult in and of itself. Coming in there with some type of similar experience is only going to be for your benefit. So I would never say look down on internships, because at the end of the day, you're in the building. At Ravens, we have a hand swipe. Your hand swipes to get into the building. You're able to talk to people in HR, talk to people in different departments, etc. The important thing to remember is you want to be building your resume at all times. You want to develop your skills. You want to network with people. You want to explore your career options. You want to gain experience. And at the end of the day, it's night and you want to get job offers. That's what all this is for. It's for a job offer. Let's now talk about how to reach out to professionals. You want to research your contact. Research. You shouldn't be asking your contact anything that you can Google. You also want to use the correct platform. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I would reach out to someone on LinkedIn, because if someone's reaching out to me on LinkedIn, I understand what they're reaching out to me for. You also want to have a strong subject line. Don't let it be generic. Let it be eye-catching. Give the person a reason to open your message. I have written LinkedIn messages to people and I want them to open my message. So I write a strong subject line so that they open my message. And I get this strong subject line from the research that I've done on the person. Also, in my messaging to them, I mention specific things about their work or their experience that interests me. We make a connection. If I know that you are also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, I'm going to address you as who you are. And I'm also going to mention it in my messaging. And I believe this is the most important thing, is that you're going to be clear about what it is that you want. Ask specific questions, get to your specific point. Actually, no, I think this is the most important thing. You want to express your gratitude. You want to thank them for their time and consideration for even reading your message. Now, if you don't have a LinkedIn, a portfolio, or a branded social media, I believe that you should do that. Especially in 2025, it's important to have a professional online presence. I remember when I was a student at Clark, I had this class, I can't remember what the class was, it's been so long, but I had a class and the professor was telling us, you're applying for these jobs with your social media, and this is back in like 2008, 2009. You're applying to these jobs with your social media, and you think you can put your page on private. And he showed us in all of a millisecond on how someone can view a private page. All you have to know is the information to view the private page. And I was like, what? Mind you, I've never had a private page. I also don't post anything that I would feel embarrassed about. But people, especially in this day and age, are looking at your social media when you're going to apply for jobs. How your social media, your online presence is curated can determine if you even get an interview. And when it comes to personal branding and making yourself stand out, you want to focus on identifying your niche. Identify the specific area or unique skill set that you have to offer that sets you apart from everyone else that also has an Instagram, who is interested in working in professional sports. Let's just say sports marketing, for instance. You also want to be authentic. Authentic. If I could tattoo it on my forehead, I probably wouldn't, because I can tattoo it on my forehead and I still haven't. You always want to be authentic. Be yourself, let your personality shine through. It's something that people can connect with, especially if you're a content creator where you create static graphics or videos where you're not necessarily the main object in your content creation. Unlike myself right now, I'm the main object in my content creation. You also want to create high quality content, and you don't have to have the most expensive materials, equipment to do so. Honestly, right now I'm filming on an iPhone. I'm gonna edit on a HP laptop. I wanna say this mic was $7. It came with 2 mics. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be expensive for you to create high quality content. And the truth is, most jobs in sports aren't publicly posted. You have to be connected. So start reaching out, asking questions, and building genuine relationships. Looking back, there are a few things I do differently if I were starting today. Let me share them so you can avoid my mistakes. Some of the biggest mistakes that I have made is 1, not putting myself out there sooner. And honestly, a lot of that is linked to the fact that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to put myself out there. So I just didn't. The second thing is thinking talent alone would get me noticed. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Even speaking from a biblical perspective of this, faith without works is dead. You have to do something. And the third thing is underestimating the power of relationships. So as I mentioned, maybe not in this video, I mentioned before that I know people who've played professional sports, and I've honestly never even asked anyone for help. I think the first person I did ask for their advice on this is someone who didn't even play professional sports, and that's my dad. So I probably, I just didn't. I'm the type of person that I don't want to ask for help, because if I ask you for help and I fail, I don't want you to be looked at crazy, like, well, why did you recommend this person? I never wanted to be that person. So I would rather get it out the mud on my own. And honestly, getting it out the mud on your own is often the scenic route. And it's a lonely route. And this is not even strictly attached to sports. There's a few things in my life that I've gone through, not had to go through, that I've gone through because I underestimated the power of relationships. I literally used to divvy up shrimp. I used to go to a Korean store and buy shrimp on the white, like, styrofoam thing that you would get like ground beef on. They would put shrimp in there, and I could eat 4 to 5 shrimp a day. I would make rice in my rice cooker. I would buy a bag of potatoes and eat home fries. And one would call that building character, but I didn't have to go through that. Now, what I do today if I were starting over, first, as a college student, I will work in sports at my college, university. Second, I would do everything possible. I don't care if that's football, baseball, soccer, tennis, volleyball, something sport related, I would be doing it to help. Experience. Third thing I would do is create a professional social media presence. I would have an online portfolio. I would be working on video editing, photo editing, photography, etc. And most importantly, I would open my mouth and have conversations with people. I don't know everyone that my uncle knows. I don't know everyone that my mother knows, but I would tell them the things that I want to do and ask them for their help. They may not have the answers, but they may know someone who has the answers that they trust to help me get to where it is that I want to be. Open your mouth. Closed mouths indeed receive no food. Now, when it comes to leveraging social media and content creation, let's just say I was a video editor. I would edit videos, unsolicited editing videos, post them, tag teams in them, ask your friends to tag teams in the comments, etc. And actually, if you're a photographer, videographer, you're a sports journalist, you can contact teams to see if you can get media access. Especially right now, consistency and persistence matter more than ever. There's a bunch of people in this world. We have access to so many things. So being consistent and being persistent are of utmost value to you and your endeavors to working anywhere, but especially in professional sports. Long story short, if I were starting today, I'd be documenting my journey online, sharing insights, and networking hard. The game has changed, and so should your approach. All right, now that was a lot of information, but I hope it helped. To recap, if you want to build your career in sports, figure out your path, build real skills, network with intention, put yourself out there. If this video helped, let me know in the comments, what's one thing you're going to start doing today to grow your career? Also, if you have any questions, drop them below. I'll be answering as many as I can, and I will see you next video.